Hi guys, and welcome back for another vape video here at Ricky's Vape Spot. Today we'll do a follow-up video on the Kayfun V5 video that I did a few days back, trying to answer all of your questions, comments and emails in one video, in a way comparing the Kayfun V5 to the Kayfun V3 Mini and the V4, and try to answer at least some of those questions. And one of the main questions: should I upgrade to the V5 if I just bought the Mini V3? So first of all, I would like to say a big thank you to all your messages and comments and subscriptions and emails. It really means a lot to me, and thank you so much for showing your support for my work and this channel. And those comments and messages basically also helped me in a way to do this video in a way of getting to know what you guys are interested in and what you would like to know about the Kayfun V5. From the beginning, actually, I knew I was going to do a Kayfun V5 follow-up video. I kind of broke this video apart in a few different segments, and I will start this video with different parts of the Kayfun and how it has actually evolved, what has gone better and what maybe not in those previous versions that came out. So I'm mainly going to be talking about the Kayfun V3 Mini, the Kayfun V4, and how it compares to the Kayfun V5. I broke it apart through different sections of the tank to maybe get a better overall view on what has changed and what has improved, and what you can basically expect if you upgrade to a Kayfun V5. Let's try and keep this video as short as possible, so let's dive down and have a closer look at what I've prepared. Okay, and here we have our three Kayfuns. We have the Kayfun Mini V3 right here. This is the Kayfun V4, and this is the Kayfun V5, the newest version of the Kayfun. By looking at it, we can see that the Mini is obviously the smallest of them all, but what we are basically interested in now is comparing the V4 and the V5. So, by looking at those two, the V5 is higher than the V4, and looking at it in weight comparison, the V4 definitely seems much heavier. So let's put that on a scale. If it stays here, come on, stay, Kayfun. Let's put it like this. 97 grams for the Kayfun V4, and the Kayfun V5 comes in at 78, so it is noticeably lighter than the V4, which is a plus. The tank capacity obviously in all three of them is different. The Mini having the smallest tank capacity of around 2 milliliters. The V4 with the glass tank installed, I think it came out to around 3.5 milliliters. I think it held up to 4 milliliters with the stainless steel section. Don't quote me on that though. And the V5 with the glass tank section, it holds actually 4 milliliters, and with the stainless steel tank installed, it holds 5 milliliters. All three of the Kayfuns, the V4, the V5 and the Mini V3, do have top fill. All of them have removable drip tips. I've since replaced some of the original drip tips with some palm drip tips here. I kept the V5 because I actually really like it. And we can actually see how the top fill method has improved from the V4 to the V3 Mini and then the V5. By looking at the V4, we have this rounded top cap here, which when juice got on the side, and it basically always kind of got here on the side when you filled it, at least a little bit of it, it got really hard, you know, grabbing onto it and then unscrewing it, especially if your fingers are slippery or sweaty or whatever. and it actually was really hard to remove. Often you would need to grab some paper towel or some part of your shirt to try to get a better grip on it and unscrew it. So this actually has improved in the Mini V3 version, because they said, yeah, must be really hard to unscrew, so they kind of added those indents here, which made it much easier to unscrew the top cap, even if this got wet for some reason. They also went from removing this part to actually including the top part of the tank in this top cap here. So when you unscrew it, it basically acts like a shield. But what happened anyways is, you know, since juice always tends to get at some places you don't want it to be, even if you fill it up, you had some droplets here, and every time basically you screwed back the top cap, you had some juice escaping here from the sides. Not a lot, but you know, you had to wipe it off if you wanted a clean tank. So how this changed actually in the V5 version was that they kept all the good parts. So they kept the indents, they kept this top cap kind of shield, and they actually, what they did, and that's genius for design, is actually they just beveled it out here. So this goes down, and even if juice ends up here, it's not being pushed out by the top cap, which is flat. So you do have some extra room, and now basically when you screw this on, you don't have any leakage, any juice escaping from the top cap. Okay, let's look at the tank section. We'll put the V5 aside for right now. If we remove the base on the V4 and the top fill cap, and we're just left with the tank, we'll do the same thing on the Mini V3. We can actually see the difference in parts used. So in the V4 we did have a screw on top which was holding the whole tank section together. We did have this top cap part here, we did have the upper part of the tank section here, we had the glass, we had the lower part of the tank, and we had the lowest part of the tank with the chimney installed. So this comes out to 6 parts. On the V3 Mini, and same as on the V5, we just only have 3 parts, and this is the top part of the tank, which is able to screw on the chimney section. We have the glass, and we have the chimney section here. So coming together really easily, and really easy to actually maintain, clean, and actually I think they did a great job with this part. The same is also true for the V5, also has 3 parts of the tank section. The next thing that we will look at is how has the juice flow improved since the version 4. And by looking at it, we can see that the version 4 actually had smaller and rounder juice flow holes on the chimney section. When we moved to the V3, it did get wider, and on both of those we had 6 juice flow holes. When the V5 came out, they actually even put wider juice flow holes here, and also kept 6 of them. And what I actually think that happened is this round design here of the juice flow holes, I think it made it harder for the juice to pass through than through those sharper edges here. I think it kind of helps to break down the juice and feed it through the holes. So with the V5, I think they made the best improvement by widening those juice flow holes here. And plus, the V4 actually had a little bit of a problem, because the tank section did not go up here. There was this ring that it was placed above this. If you use the glass tank section or the stainless steel tank section, and it actually narrowed down the space between the chimney and the inner wall of the tank. So I think with higher VG juices, that also kind of made a problem a little bit in wicking it. So yeah, all in all, I think the V5 definitely has the best improvements, giving juice flow and feeding the thicker VG juice to your wicks. Let's talk about juice flow control. Since the V4, the juice flow control has actually improved quite a bit. In the V4 we had this whole lower deck section lifting up and closing those holes inside here. And that could actually get quite complicated, especially if you over tighten those sections here. You would have a hard time getting them loose again, and so your tank could actually get stuck. Then you had to use some kind of leverage here to open it up, and it was quite a pain in the ass actually. But once you learned how to live with it and you learned that you're not supposed to over tighten the tank, I think everything was okay. I actually myself didn't have any problems with it, but I heard a lot of people who did, so I'm just telling you. In the V3 Mini, the juice flow control was actually put inside the chimney section here, working with the base section together. So actually how this works was that once you tighten the chimney section all the way down, those juice flow controls actually, since the deck lowers itself, it closes down. So by opening the chimney section 2 full turns, you actually could open up the juice flow control all the way, and by closing it down or turning in 1 full turn, you would have a smaller juice flow. So depending on the juice you would use, you could actually cater that to your needs. While in the V4 we had the juice flow control that was actually meant to be either open or closed. The juice flow control since the V3 Mini actually got real juice flow control to the Kayfun, because you could actually you could adjust it to your needs. Let's talk about the build deck and how it has improved over time from the V4 to the V3 Mini and then to the V5, because I do believe that the V5 has one of the best, or the best build deck there is on the market right now for such a type of tank. So in the V4 we actually did have 4 small screws, and those screws were pretty small. So what I tended to do was always place the coil here, and then in an S shape I would wrap those leads around and then tighten them down. And if I had thicker wires, I did have problems catching those leads. They always kind of tended to slip outside. But you know, once you get a use and hang of it, you kind of know how to build. It does get easier, but I could imagine that for a newbie, capturing thicker wires here would be some kind of a problem, and I'm actually really glad that from the 4 to the V3 Mini they moved to the 1 screw design, or 2 screws design again, placing bigger screws here, and in that way helping you to capture those leads underneath the screws. In the V5, what they basically did is they put in larger screws here, and what they also did is they included those kind of legs on the side. I'll just remove the screw to give you a better view of it. Okay, so they put in some some outer walls, outer legs that will help you capture those leads. And in my first video of the Kayfun review, I basically said that they did remind me of the Kanger RBA section, and I have that here just to take a look. So the Kanger RBA section also had those walls actually coming out on each side of the screw, and that really actually helped you capture those leads. In the V5, what happened is actually that those walls, they're not full. They're like L-shaped legs coming out from this part and then going to the outside. So once you actually install your coil here and then you place it here and then just like move it, tug it out, you get instant connection here, and by twisting and tugging the wire, the excess part of the lead actually ends up underneath this lag, preventing short with your chimney section. Okay, so I think this is a genius design. Plus it helps you get rid of those excess parts of your lead. You can actually, if you have a bigger coil, simply wrap around this whole part here. Those legs will kind of help you keep the lead in place, and then just tighten it down. So I really think that this design is one of the best designs I have ever seen in any RBA deck, and so Mesto, I think you did an awesome job with this. I'm really enjoying it. Okay, let's talk about a topic that I got a lot of questions about, and that was airflow. Did it improve? Is it the same? How does the airflow influence the flavor of the Kayfun V5, and questions like that. So, to take a closer look at the airflow, I have the V4 and the V3 Mini here side by side, and we can see that the center post airflow that goes directly to the coil is basically the same size on both of them. On the V5 we can see that this airflow, the center airflow that goes directly to the coil, is actually a lot bigger than in the V3 Mini or the V4. Does it make a big difference for mouth-to-lung vapors? I would say no. The taste I get out of the V5 is still the same as not better than the V3 Mini. And of course, if you like the V3 Mini more than you did the V4, then you know basically what you're dealing with. The main improvement actually goes for the juice flow, because if you had problems with your juice flow coming to your wicks and then to your coil, you basically had a problem with taste as well. So I don't think this larger center airflow hole does a lot to the experience you get from a Kayfun. You still get the same Kayfun experience with this larger central hole here. The airflow adjustment basically was totally redesigned in the V5. The V3 Mini and the V4 actually had the same airflow, and in order to come to that airflow, what you had to do was unscrew this 510 pin here. Then you had to take another smaller screwdriver, or basically just take out this whole part here, and then you would tighten or loosen your airflow with this screw here. The benefits of having a screw is basically that you can really fine-tune your airflow, and if you're a real Kayfun user, you will adjust your airflow anyways only once and then basically keep it that way. A lot of problems, not problems, but a lot of things that happened with the V3 Mini is that for all of those who kind of loosened up the airflow too much, they had problems getting this 510 screw back in all the way. So that led to some problems with stability of temperature control and stuff like that. In the V4 it was even worse, because not only was the airflow adjustment same as in the V3 on the inside, but removing this deck section, there was also a spring inside connecting those lifting deck sections to the coil. So I heard that a lot of people had actually problems with temperature control in the Kayfun V4, and Svomesto even came out with a gold-plated pin to try to fix the problem. But you know, the problem still existed. So I think just talking about that, that the V5 definitely has the best stability if you're using temperature controls, because they got rid of all those extra screws. There's just one screw now, and the airflow is actually coming from the outside. What the Kayfun 5 did lose with this screw that was actually giving you the ability to finally adjust your airflow was that they actually now have only 4 different types of airflow. And the airflow, by looking at that, let me just get back my chimney section here, the V5. If you did like one of the older Kayfuns and their airflow, I don't think you will have any issues with this airflow right now, because the smallest airflow is tight enough for a comfortable mouth to lung hit, and the airflow coming to your coil is really nice and enough. And if you want to place some low resistant coils inside, you do have the biggest airflow that a Kayfun has ever produced, and that is, if you see those indents here, if you move that to all the way to 4 holes. So with the biggest airflow open here, you do get a full 3.2 millimeters of airflow hole. And with the smallest you do get 1.8, same as with the Kayfun Lite Plus. So I think there's, if you're a Kayfun fan and you're used to the Kayfun airflow, you will definitely like this airflow settings, because you're basically already used to them. Another thing that I don't think Svomesto did it intentionally, but another thing that you could basically do, if you would like so, I'll show that to you right now. If this 1.8 millimeter airflow that you get on the smallest preset is still not restrictive enough for you, what you could do is just slightly pull up the airflow control, and that would basically even more close down your airflow. On the downside, of course, if you screw this on a mod, you will have a small gap here if you lift the airflow too much, or just a little bit, but I don't think that takes away a lot from the looks. So like this, it's flush. If you lift it up a little bit to close your airflow even more, you will have a little bit of a gap here. So that was the Kayfun V5 all broken apart and compared to the rest of the Kayfuns. Another question that I got a lot was if you can put bigger builds inside this Kayfun. Can you put Clapton builds inside? And yes, you can. I did the next video will show you I put a Clapton build inside the Kayfun V5, Wick did. And well, let's take a look at that. So I made a little piece of Clapton wire here, and I will wrap it around a 2.4 millimeter screwdriver. Yeah, let's put it 6 times. This is the Clapton wire I have made. So I will just put this here and on the other side. Okay, see those legs, how they actually let the wire slip underneath? So what that will do is basically help you capture those leads. So I have the other lead coming out on the other side, just like so, and then I will screw this back like so, and we should have a nicely captured lead on this side. So I have one side here, I just kind of clipped it, and I will do the same thing on the other side, and this lead should be nicely captured now underneath. Let's try and clean up the build a little bit. I know it's not the nicest build you've ever seen, but well, I think it will get the job done. So just center the coil a little bit more like so. Okay, and I think now we can say we have a Clapton coil installed in the Kayfun. Let's just try and fire it up. Reads to 0.8 ohms, 22 watts. Let's give it a glow. Okay, getting there. Ooh, nicely. Let's clean it up a little bit. Okay, like so. Nice. Okay. So, and now what we gotta do is just wick it up. For that I will use some Fiber Freaks again. Keep it all nice and fluffy. Approximately to the width of the deck. Like so. And like so. just place it inside nicely and fluffy. As I said before, or actually in the other video, I like to keep those wicks dry when I tuck them in because they tend to simply stay more fluffy that way. And now basically all that is left to do is juice it up and test fire it. So, yeah, vapor's happening. I will put it together and just let me juice up those O-rings a little bit here. I washed the tank actually, and then those O-rings get pretty dry and it's kind of hard to put it together. So I will assemble this and then we'll try and give it a vape. So the Clapton coil that I did was a 26 gauge wire wrapped with a 30 gauge wire around. I had 6 wraps around a 2.4 millimeter screwdriver coming out to 0.89 ohms. And here's how it vapes. Those are some clouds. The vapor is warm and the vapor production is definitely a lot of it. I wouldn't really suggest such a build for mouth-to-lung vapors. If I put, the Kayfun is now on one airflow hole. I will open up the airflow to the maximum, like so. Let's try it again. It really cools down the vapor. It's much better like that. So if you're into those lung hits or restricted lung hits, I would suggest you try a Clapton build inside. If not, for a mouth to lung, it is okay. It is okay, but it's missing the airflow coming to the coil because it is a bigger coil. You can do a mouth to lung hit, but you definitely need more airflow for such type of a build. Okay guys, this video is already getting way too long. I will try and wrap it up now and give you my final conclusions and opinions about the Kayfun V5. So first of all, let's try and put it on some mods. I have the iStick 40 watts here. This is how it looks like. Okay. We'll try and put it on the EVIC VTC Mini. You already saw that. That's how it looks like on the EVIC VTC Mini. I will try and put it on the Vapor Flask. Looking good too. So basically it does look good on those smaller size mods as well. And I can put it on the Pico too. iStick Pico. Looking nice too. So what I can say about the Kayfun V5, let's do some conclusions on the airflow. The airflow on the Kayfun V5 is pretty restrictive, but it's not as restrictive as it gets when you, for example, close down the screw on the Kayfun V4 or on the Kayfun V3 Mini. You are losing that fine adjustment of airflow. But as I said in the close-ups, one thing that you can basically do is, if you have that sitting on your mod, and if you are in a wish for more restricted airflow, so what you can do is basically you can pull up the airflow control ring just like by halfway, and that will restrict your airflow even more. I'm not sure Swomesto actually intended it to be used that way. I'm just letting you know because I think it's basically cool. If you really want to have a tighter airflow, this might be your option how to get it. The airflow on one hole is pretty tight, but I can compare it to a, this is a Kanger sub-tank. I don't know why I'm comparing it to sub-tanks, but pretty much as what you would get on one air, pretty much what you would get on one air hole open on the Kangaroo sub-tank is what you will get on the Kayfun V5. And of course you can restrict it more by pulling up this airflow adjustment ring here. The way I vape, I think it is perfect for me. If you are more into this restricted range of mouth to lung hits, I think you might find it a little bit too open. A little bit. But if you are into those looser mouth to lung hits, I think it will be perfect for you. If you ever vaped on a Kayfun Light Plus fully open, that's basically what it's like. And I do have I do have still the Clapton coil inside, so maybe not the best coil for mouth to lung, but it is what it is right now. If you wish to use the Kayfun V5 as a direct lung hit tank, you can do so, but you have to know that the airflow is going to be restricted. So it is definitely, I'm gonna compare it again. I will open up the sub-tank all the way. This is the sub-tank V1, by the way. So, and it's more open than the sub-tank. I do have the RBA base, so I don't know how much that matters, but it's basically somewhere around the same. So the Kayfun, much more smoother. It's like the air is being filled up inside and then just like shut up out. So if you're into those restricted lung hits, I think you will really enjoy the Kayfun. The best thing is definitely just to try it out. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is temperature control. I think it is definitely the most stable of all the three that I've compared it to today. So better than the Kayfun Mini and better than the Kayfun V4. If you're into temp control, I think I was using it for the past few days in temp control, and I really didn't have any problems. If there was anything that I would change on the Kayfun V5, probably it would be the option to buy a smaller tank section, maybe make it like a little bit shorter. I don't know if there's another option, but maybe Swomesto comes out with an airflow limiter for all of you guys who want a really restricted airflow. But as I said, this can be changed directly here, but just like simply lifting up the airflow ring, and it doesn't really look too bad. You almost can't see it, so it's really good, and it gets pretty restricted. So that's just some minor things that are other than that, I still think the Kayfun V5 is an amazing tank. And if somebody told me that I have to move to a deserted island or so, and I had to choose between the Kayfun 5, between the Kayfun V4 and the Kayfun Mini V3, I'm pretty sure I would take the Kayfun V5. In the end, it all comes down to the style of vaping. Do I think the Kayfun improved a lot since the last version? And I will say the last version was the V4. Yes, I think they did an amazing job with the Kayfun V5, and they made so many improvements, and if you're into those bigger tanks, I think you will definitely love it. Especially if you never really use the Kayfun like all tightened up and all tightened down. So as I said, it's not as restrictive and as fine-tunable as the V3 or the V4, but I think it really gets the job done. I think they took the best airflow settings from everything they had, plus they gave you an option to open it up even more to get a comfortable but restrictive mouth to lung hit. If you do have a chance, please try and go to one of your Swomesto Kayfun resellers nearby and just give it a vape. I think you will fall in love from the first vape on, and I really did, and I think this will come into my everyday rotation right now. Guys, and once again, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you did find some of those information that I shared with you today useful. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. That would mean a lot to me. I'm wishing you all a wonderful rest of the day. Let's just keep on vaping, and I'll see you again soon.